Hey everyone, Melanie here and welcome back to my channel. Someone made a comment asking me to make a video on this. I normally refrain from talking about celebrities, however, I think this is actually quite an important case to talk about because it opens up the discussion for other people who have been in Johnny's position. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help create a safe space along with others who are doing this online for people to discuss their abuse without fear of being shamed. So recently, a British tabloid called the Daily Mail put online these audios and tapes that were recorded between Amber Heard and Johnny. Now, these conversations happened a few years ago, and these were consensual tapings, by the way. These were phone calls made between Johnny and Amber in their own unofficial therapy sessions. So they were getting things off their chest, trying to talk about what was going on in the relationship. This was consensual, however, according to the Daily Mail's website, a well-placed source leaked the information to the Daily Mail. We don't know who it was, whether it was Johnny himself, but regardless, it's come out. Now, this is quite an important case because initially it was Amber Heard a few years ago who said that she was experiencing domestic abuse, and although she didn't outright say it was Johnny, it was very much insinuated that it was Johnny, and as such Johnny's reputation was really severely affected and it lost him the role of Captain Jack Sparrow. However, as the real life story of Gone Girl is now being shown, it's actually the other way around, and Amber has admitted on the tapes that she was indeed hitting him, throwing things at him, throwing cans, throwing vases, throwing bottles, and she admitted it. There have been a couple of tapes, and I want to bring up a couple of things that came out in the transcripts. I'm not going to go into details of the whole thing. I'm not going to discuss word by word what the transcripts are. I'll put links below in the description so you can read it or listen to the audio yourself. But in one of the tapes, she says that no one will believe him. This is a few years ago. His reputation was being tarnished. And he's saying that you are the one who is hitting me. You are the one throwing all these things at me. You are the one abusing me. And she goes, no one's going to believe you. It angers me that women would cry abuse when they're actually abusers themselves, because it discredits women who actually are experiencing domestic violence. It's upsetting. And the fact is that many men are feeling ashamed already for what's going on in their relationship. It's quite hard to admit that you're helpless in a situation, to feel weak in front of others, to be seen as a perpetrator, to be something as you're not. And bear in mind, a lot of the men that I work with in the past had been shamed for being angry. They were told in the past, you weren't allowed to be angry, you're a bad boy. So it's all bottled in. And then they're experiencing hostility, experiencing abuse from their female partner many years later. And the anger comes out. And then that gets used against them. You are abusing me. How dare you do this? And that just puts on another layer of shame. And when you just keep getting hurt and you keep getting abused and prodded and just pushed by someone you care about, then yeah, sometimes we lash out and that ends up getting used against you. And you know that actually, no, you're not doing this. You aren't the bad person. You aren't trying to abuse or harm anyone, let alone your partner. You love her. And yet she's insistent that you are harming her, that you are doing this and you are doing that. And you can see that this is what Amber was doing in the transcript when she's saying, I wasn't punching you, I was hitting you. And he said, you were punching me, your fists were closed, aiming at my face, you were punching me. And in her head, I guess she thinks that hitting isn't as severe, as bad as punching. So she's like, no, I wasn't punching you, I was hitting you. There's a big difference. Stop putting words in my mouth. I wasn't doing that. And he says, don't tell me what a punch feels like. Okay, I've been punched before. She's constantly denying what she's done, even though he's saying you are lying. She's still denying it to his face. Whether she's just gaslighting, she's intentionally doing this, or she's just seriously delusional, or just plain angry and doesn't want to admit that actually she is as bad as he's making her out to be. I don't know. And that's the thing. when people are reading up about what's happened and you see all the comments under the YouTube videos, she's a malignant somatic narcissist, she's, psychopath, or she has BPD. And I had someone ask me, like, what do you think she has? Is this the reason for her behavior? I mean, maybe Amber has BPD. In the transcript, she says that she showed that she was getting angry for Johnny walking out and leaving the argument when it was getting really heated, and that he would leave and not return and come back knocking on their door to finish the argument, to finish what had been started. She got really upset by that, and he said, well, you have a tendency to throw things at me, so I'm gonna leave. And she's like, well, I don't understand why me throwing things at you in the past means that you won't come up to my door and knock on my door and, finish the argument. Considering that people with BPD really hate being abandoned, it might point that maybe she has BPD. Then again, someone who just hates being ignored, doesn't like it when people walk out of arguments because it triggers them feeling ignored, for getting angry, doesn't necessarily mean they have BPD. It could also be that she has psychopathic tendencies, or maybe she's just really highly narcissistic, somatic narcissist. I'm also thinking that maybe quite a few actors and actresses in Hollywood are very highly narcissistic. Maybe they attract these kind of people into this environment. Hollywood is a cesspool of pedophiles, of psychopaths, of grandiose malignant narcissists. The worst of the worst are involved in Hollywood. It is really a sickening place to be. They are preying to some demonic forces in Hollywood. They're run by pedophiles and sex criminals. It's not a good place to be. And if you're doing well enough to be in top-rated films, if you're that actively involved in Hollywood, might have a bit of an impact working in such an evil and corrupted and twisted environment. Got to bear that in mind. These aren't like ordinary people who work in the office 9 till 5 and have a drink down the pub at the end of the day. We don't know what they're really like behind closed doors. We don't know what they're really like, full stop. Unless maybe through snippets of interviews you might get a sense of their actual personality. But we form the emotional bonds, we get attached to actors because of the films that they're acting in, through their roles, through the TV shows, through the characters that they play. We become attached to those characters. We don't know what they're really like in real life. We like to think they're a certain way. We most likely project everything onto them. If they're amazing people, if they're the kind of person that we want to be, we're going to put them on a pedestal. Goes to show that you can be a successful actor, you can be earning millions, you can be loved by everyone. I mean, who doesn't like Johnny Depp? He's the kind of guy that people really look up to, and he's successful, and yet even he experiences domestic violence. There's a lot of shame surrounding domestic violence, and thinking that I don't want to admit that I'm experiencing this in case I'm not believed, in case I am shamed and ridiculed. To acknowledge that there's a risk of being misunderstood and to still do it anyway. Talk to someone that you trust. If there's no one that you trust, talk about it online. It's going to help us with the feelings of shame and admitting that something is going wrong. Know that you're not alone in your story. Domestic violence, regardless of gender, it is so commonplace. And we can start doing something about it when we are authentic and can actually admit that it's happening, and then start talking to people about it. Then we can start to do something about it. That's how we start to get our power back. And if you think that you're being gaslit in your relationship, if you're reading the transcript and thinking, wow, this happened to me, my ex used to say things and do things, I would say you're doing this, and they just blatantly deny it. If you can relate to this might be an opportunity to practice some more self-belief. Practice self-belief. Believe in yourself, even when you think that no one else would. We have to learn to build this relationship with ourselves first. Self-love, self-worth, self-respect. It starts from taking yourself seriously. So, please feel free to use the comments below to share your thoughts. I don't normally make videos like this. I normally couldn't give a toss about celebrities, but considering the nature of this and the kind of videos that I'm making, I thought it would be a good opportunity to put this video in, share my 2 cents a bit, and give you lovely people an opportunity to share your thoughts. What do you think about all this? How has this impacted you? Can you resonate with the story? And has this touched a nerve in you and you feel like you need to talk about this more? Know that I give online counseling sessions. If you're interested and you want to know more, drop me an email, melanieprsvp@gmail.com. All right, gonna leave it here. Have lovely evenings. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do so. And until next time, bye-bye for now.